Blonde is what happens when you let an unchecked egomaniac loose with a boatload of money. You get scenes like Marilyn Monroe talking to her aborted CGI fetus, or endlessly calling different men daddy while being sexually abused and tortured. This movie is closer to a snuff film than a historical retelling. The writer inserts a bunch of fictitious events and demonizes several historical figures with unsubstantiated accusations in order to make their point about Hollywood exploiting women. Ironically, this film exploits Ana de Armas more than Hollywood ever exploited Marilyn Monroe. Hello and welcome to my channel. Normally I review a new movie or television show every day from Monday to Friday. Today I'm not so much reviewing as critiquing. Blonde is trash, and you shouldn't give the creators any of your time, and here's why. The film is a barely coherent smut piece that consists of more fabricated storylines than real facts, and attempts to paint Marilyn Monroe as the helpless victim of a tragic life. Supposedly, Blonde follows the life of Marilyn Monroe, but if you were to describe the film, it's a string of the worst events in Marilyn's life pulled together and presented as the entirety of her being. She never grows as a person. Instead, she wanders further and further down the rabbit hole, slowly losing her mind to drugs and depression. The film doesn't present a consistent narrative and instead opts to jump mindlessly from moment to moment, sometimes skipping entire decades of Marilyn's life without a single explanation or summary of the events we missed. They skip any moments of joy she may have had, and make everyone in her life out to be a monster. It's just a collection of vaguely related scenes, but they don't add up to a reasonable sum. Marilyn as a person is one-dimensional and flat. She's a helpless victim who lashes out at those around her. The film refuses to give her any agency and omits details from her story that might contradict their version. The only message you could pull from this film is that Marilyn is a victim. You could try to say that this movie was about Hollywood destroying a young woman, but then why use a real historical figure for this movie? Marilyn wasn't some hapless victim. She not only stood up for herself and her rights several times, but she was also known for it. Kennedy was never accused of raping her. The executive that is portrayed at the start is not known to have assaulted Monroe, and Chaplin Jr. never wrote fake letters to Monroe posing as her father. Why create a fictional story about a real person when there are plenty of stories of real abuse that you could tell? The dialogue also sounds like it was written by some modern jackass. People weren't so vulgar in the past, and the idea that any of these people were as openly disgusting as presented is absurd revisionism by somebody who failed high school history. Most of the movie falls on Ana de Armas' shoulders, but the rest of the cast does a good job of playing their parts as well. Ana de Armas was great at the emotional aspects of her role. She shows off a great range of emotions and managed to stay in character the whole time, despite how wacky and insane most of the film is. If only they had told her that she shouldn't do the accent. She sounds nothing like Marilyn Monroe outside of being constantly out of breath, and her accent constantly pokes through the facade. It's very distracting. Visually, this film is confusing. It looks good, but there are so many bad visual choices. Ana de Armas spends half of the movie topless for seemingly no reason other than to sexualize her, and the movie spends at least 15 minutes simulating sex. We see Anna give the camera a blowjob, see her fingered, and see her raped. The movie stops short of showing the actual penetration, but does give us an imaginary view of abortion from inside a fake vagina. The sets and costumes are generally pretty good, but at odd moments will look really cheap. For example, the mother at the start is supposed to age 10 years, but instead of doing actual makeup work, they stick a gray wig on her and call it a day. The film shifts from color to grayscale to black and white. It does this constantly without any rhyme or reason. It's certainly interesting to look at, but is totally jarring. Blonde also has a number of scenes that are just visual garbage, like the CGI fetus scenes. It was really bad work and it took me right out of the film. The soundtrack was certainly fitting at times, but no part of it is memorable or all that interesting. It works in the moment, but that's it. You hear a lot of Hollywood boilerplate tracks that sound like they were pulled out of a generic music machine. There are a few of Marilyn's tracks in there too, but they're short and more of an afterthought. Films like this blow me away with how bad they are. They aren't fun to watch, they aren't true to the story, and they give such black and white views on the world that you can't trust any of the lessons they try and teach you. Especially when you look up any of the facts. Find out that half of the movie is made up nonsense taken from rumors. 3 out of 10.